And with us this afternoon, we have Hannah Jones, Deputy Director of Community Development with the Department of Development. Welcome, and the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Chair Page, Councilmember Stinziano. Today, I'm here to review the divisions that fall within your committee for the Department of Development. First, I will begin with the Department of Development overview specifically before going into the specific divisions, housing, code enforcement, as well as the land bank this afternoon. The Department of Development is proposing a total operating budget of $37.7 million for 2018. The 2018 budget submittal includes 80% of the department budget, which is made up of general fund and CDBG funds. 2% of the general fund, 2% of the general fund increase of $630,000, and we realized a reduction in CDBG of $1.7 million compared to 2017. Combined, the general fund and CDBG represent 4% of our budget, or $1.1 million less than last year. While there is a difference in funding sources, we were able to use other funding sources to make that up, so our department budget overall is flat for 2018. The remaining 20% of our budget is made up of the following funds: the Business Tax Incentive Fund, the Neighborhood Economic Development Fund, Home Funds, the Land Management Fund, and the lead grant. The budget reductions were accomplished by using more efficient budgeting for our goods and services, the replacement of CDBG dollars for general fund dollars by finance and management, as well as shifting $700,000 to the Neighborhood Economic Development Fund, and a shift of $1.5 million in CDBG expenses to the general fund and other funds. Additionally reflected in the budget is 7 contracts that in previous years were considered expansions to our budget and now are included in the general fund budget overall. The 2018 budget allows the department to focus its efforts on the core missions of the city's strategic priorities for 2018, specifically focused around neighborhoods, diversity and inclusion, and economic development. The budget supports a staff of 178 people, and the resources have been allocated to maximize program delivery. 17% of the department budget is to support departmental administration. Within the administration category is the inclusion of $2.5 million of general fund and $2.5 million in EHS, which is allocated to social services funding, which you heard a lot about at Councilmember Tyson's hearing yesterday evening, focused on the social services. And this reflects a flat funding from 2017. 23% of our budget goes to support code enforcement and deal with environmental nuisance abatement issues. 33% is to support housing, and this includes our commitment to the Community Shelter Board. The department budget includes $5.7 million for CSB overall. 14% is for economic development to support the creation and retention of jobs and investment. 5% is for planning to guide and support the development of our neighborhoods. And 8% for the Land Redevelopment Division to continue work on the redevelopment of vacant and abandoned properties. So first, I will start with code enforcement. Total support for code enforcement, as well as our environmental nuisance activities in 2018, is approximately $8.6 million, with $7.8 million provided in the general fund and $850,000 in CDBG funding. The 2018 budget is flat funded and supports a staff of 18 people. Some contracts that we support in this is having an arborist on staff to help us identify dead trees and removal, as well as mowing contracts and tire removal when needed. Some statistics through October of this year. Our code enforcement officers participated in 3 neighborhood prides, and within those pride areas did systematic inspections and reviews of the parcels there. Our weed abatement program has mowed and cleaned solid waste from 414 properties within designated CDBG areas, which represents the 1950s boundaries for the city, the urban core. And we issued 112 work orders for the removal of graffiti throughout our city. Excluding the work of PACE, Code issued 16,145 violations this year, filed 351 civil cases with the city prosecutor, and filed 82 criminal cases with the city prosecutor. In the environmental section, our city contractors mowed and cleaned 1,556 vacant parcels, and our environmental blight abatement team assisted the land bank in maintaining 31 parcels. Code received 26,475 complaints from 311 in this calendar year. Strategically, this year PACE focused on the Highland West community. This was a very large and extensive boundary for them, so it took the majority of the year. They evaluated 1,311 parcels, and of those, they issued 1,232 notices, so a substantial number for that community. 543 of those notices were complied with. 42 notices have gone to court. In addition to the work that our strategic group does in neighborhoods, we also have a group that focuses on landlords and apartment complexes. And this year, our apartment nuisance abatement group inspected 2 major apartment complexes, Northern Isle and Nelson Park Apartments, which represent the evaluation of 248 units and 250 notices that were issued as part of that work. Next, we'll look at the Division of Housing budget. The 2018 housing request is for $12.3 million, which supports a staff of 26 individuals. This budget also includes the support that is given to the Community Shelter Board and the Rebuilding Lives program, and that was also covered in Councilor Tyson's hearing in detail yesterday. There have been no major changes to this budget, and it is relatively similar to 2017 as well. Looking at some successes this year, 473 households received rehabilitation assistance through our various home repair programs. We saw 98 new construction units of affordable housing. Some great projects throughout our community included the Columbus Scholar House, which was 38 affordable units for parents attending college. Terrace Place, which represented 60 permanent supportive housing units in the Ohio State University area. And River Lodge 2, which is 147 rehabilitated units on the north side of our city. Many of those units serve our Section 8-based population. We issued 39 down payment forgivable loans through our American Dream Down Payment Assistance Program. 9,456 people were provided help through our Rapid Rehousing and Shelter Assistance Program. And up here on the slides, you see 2 great projects, one on the south side, the Residents at Career Gateway, which is a really innovative housing and workforce development program that we're proud of, and then 53 Martin Avenue, which is a home ownership unit in Franklinton, just shows some of our new construction projects. And then finally, we have our Land Redevelopment Division, otherwise lovingly known as the Land Bank in layman terms. And this office actually moved to a division in 2017. This was in order to better track our land banking activities and be able to articulate the needs of them as a division versus an office under the administration previously. The Division of Land Redevelopment requested $2.8 million, and they support a staff of 14 individuals. 77% of the division's operating budget is funded through the Land Management Fund. And in an effort to continue to create efficiencies and capacity, the division is taking some time right now, actually, to explore updates to their processes and procedures in order to ensure that we are doing and increasing renovations and sales and returning our properties to productive use throughout the city of Columbus. Accomplishments for the land bank this year include properties within the land bank that were sold through an application process. This year, we've sold 262 properties, which generated $1.3 million in revenue for the land bank this year. In an effort to balance sales and rehabilitation with the removal of blight in our neighborhoods, demolition is one strategy that we use for that. And this year, we've demolished 284 structures within the city. And finally, we have also acquired a number of properties, and this year we acquired 456 properties that came into the land bank. And that is all I have for a formal presentation. I am happy to answer any questions that council members or staff may have.
Thank you, Director Jones. Councilmember Stanziano.
Thank you, Director. Recently there's been some stories, concerns about the land bank in terms of how they're upkept. Curious if you could provide any insight, if there's sufficient funds in the budget, if there's more we could do to address those concerns, or if it's just one or two specific properties with a little more history. Just wondering if you could address some of that again in relation to the budget.
Sure. We are always trying to balance the complexity of utilizing taxpayer dollars in an efficient way while addressing the needs of the neighborhood to see properties taken care of in a timely manner. Sometimes we are evaluating properties, and if they are slated for demolition, we may not make as extensive as repairs to the property in an effort to ensure that we are not, repainting something that eventually is going to be torn down. That being said, part of the process that the Land Bank is undertaking in partnership with the County Land Bank is to look at the time frame of how we handle properties. Our code enforcement officers work very closely with the property real estate managers within the land bank for the respective areas of the city they have, and we try to ensure that they are communicating directly, code enforcement officers, as they see challenges, to land bank properties, to the real estate managers, so that we can get out to remediate some of those concerns in as timely a manner as possible. There's often also a lot of confusion that can occur in understanding the time frame that it takes for a land bank to acquire properties. Sometimes the community expresses frustration about a property that we may have only recently gotten acquisition of. And, a lot of times the blight and the nuisance has built up over time and may not necessarily be due to negligence on our part once we have acquisition of it.
Thank you, Councilmember Cinziano. I do not have any further questions, and we do not have any public speakers. So again, thank you, Director Jones, for your testimony this evening, and this hearing is now adjourned.